This PowerPoint is the research that I conducted in order to create effective interventions for my case study student.
The first topic I
Since my case
researched
study
was
student goes to
dyslexia.
Roberts Academy, I knew that she was dyslexic, and so the first thing that I wanted to research was dyslexia.
Dyslexia is a collection
Simply,
of
dyslexia is a
characteristics that
collection of
vary based on
characteristics
the
that vary based
individual.
on the
It's a
individual.
specific learning
It's known as
disability,
a specific
and
learning
4% of the
disability,
population are
and around
affected.
4%
I
of
wanted
the
to research
population are
dyslexia
affected.
because my
Usually
case study
dyslexia can be
student is
seen in
dyslexic.
children
Visible
who
signs of
are having
dyslexia
issues
include
with spelling
problems with
or
word reading fluency or the inability to spell.
Here's a graphic
This is just a
I found when I was
graphic
conducting my
image
research.
of the different
It shows how
characteristics of
dyslexia affects
dyslexia,
different
and you can
parts
see how dyslexia affects
of an
listening,
individual, such
spelling,
as
reading,
memory
motor
difficulties. It even has
control,
an effect on
memory, and even spatial.
reading, spelling, listening,
Some of the things that
writing,
stood
and
out to
even
me
spatial
were
and
the fact
temporal.
that
So people with
oftentimes people with
could have
dyslexia
difficulties
can't
with telling
remember what
time.
words look
They could
like,
even have coordination
or
problems,
they even
or
have
difficulty hearing
problems
sounds.
with their handwriting. Characteristics of dyslexia include lacking short-term or long-term memory, visually processing difficulties, problems
the
in
inability to
multitasking,
phonologically
and then
process
also
letters,
the
words,
inability
or
to
phrases,
phonologically process letters,
even
words, or
having visual
phrases.
processing difficulties or issues with multitasking. So asking a student to read and write down things at the same time could be quite difficult if they have dyslexia.
So how does
Dyslexia
dyslexia
has a
impact
major impact
literacy
on
development?
because it leads
Obviously,
to
it
oral
impacts
reading
literacy
errors,
development on many different
difficulty
levels.
developing phonics
Some of the things
skills, and
that
difficulty
I
with
found when
reading
researching were
comprehension.
just the
There's also
problems with
problems with
fluency
fluent
again.
reading,
It's easy
specifically
for
with
children struggling
accuracy,
with dyslexia to
and
confuse
people with
small
dyslexia
words,
often confuse
to
small
have issues when they're
words,
oral
have spelling
reading,
issues and speech problems.
also just phonics
So
skills
you
in
can see
general
how it
and
affects
reading
a lot of different
comprehension,
literacy
and
reading
again, spelling
components
issues and
how
speech problems.
that makes a big impact. Moving on,
My first unique impeding factor was
phonics.
Phonics in my case study
So
student.
basically, phonics involves the
Phonics
ability
in
of
general
correlating
involves the
sounds
ability
with
of
the
correlating
letters and words
sounds
that
with letters
represent
and
them.
words that represent them.
I noticed that
I
this was an
noticed
issue
that my
when I
case study
tested my
student
case
struggled
study
with
for
phonics
word
when I
reading
was testing
efficiency.
her for
I used the Tower 2
word
assessment.
reading efficiency. I used
where
the Tower
basically
2 assessment.
she just had
Her scores
to
indicated
read,
that she was a whole year
certain
behind,
words to me, and
that she was below average at
efficient
phonemic decoding and sight word
efficiency.
This told me that she would benefit from extra
So her
word
scores
reading
actually
practice.
indicated that she fell a whole year
Additionally, when I
behind,
conducted an
and she was
elementary
below
spelling
average
inventory,
at phonemic decoding and
she's
sight
actually
word
scored
efficiency.
between the middle and late
So
periods
moving
of the
forward,
within word
this
pattern
indicated to me
stage.
that
And what
I
that
should
indicated to me
practice
was
extra
that
word
she needed
reading
more
with her.
specific practice with vowel teams,
Also, when I
inflected
conducted
endings,
an
and sight
elementary
words.
spelling inventory,
So through assessments, I was
she
able to
scored
find that
within the middle
my
and late
case study
periods of the
student would
within word
benefit from
pattern
some
stage.
extra phonics
And these scores were able to
interventions.
tell me that she needed more specific practice with vowel teams, inflected endings, and sight words.
So here's an example of
the
elementary spelling inventory that I conducted.
On the left,
you can
is
see
what I
the sheet
read
that I
from,
read
and
from,
on the right are the words
and
that
the
she wrote.
properly spelled words,
I
and then on
wanna,
the right you can see how the
direct your
case study
attention
student
to
spelled the words.
starting around number 12.
Pay extra
She
attention
starts
to
really struggle
number
with
14
the
carries,
vowel teams
and how she spelled it, and
just
also number
phonetically
13
spelling out those
and
words.
number 12.
So that's just what indicated to me that phonics would be a good strategy to work on with her.
So how does phonics impact literacy
how does
development?
phonics impact
Phonics
literacy
is actually the
development?
foundation of reading.
Phonics is
so it's
essentially
really
the
important
foundation
for
of reading.
students to
Students
be able
must
to
learn
match letters to sounds
and
vice
versa in order
versa.
to begin to
It helps
understand
them understand the reading
process.
A quote
In the
from
multiple
the
paths to literacy
text,
book, I found
Multiple Paths to
this
Literacy, that I
quote
really
that
liked and I thought really summed up
It says
phonics
that
and its
word
impact on
analysis
literacy
and word
development says
identification influence a
that
reader's
word
ability
analysis
to
and word
understand what is read
identification
in a
influence a
passage
reader's
or
ability
sentence,
to
which
understand what is
influences the
read in a
ability to
passage or
decode other
sentence,
unknown words.
which influences the ability to decode other
So
unknown
basically,
words.
explicit phonics instruction is important.
So basically,
because students
phonics
must learn
instruction
how to
is
segment
so
and blend
important
phonemes
because
to sound out
students
words.
begin to learn how to segment and
with a
blend
formed foundation in
phonemes
phonics,
and to sound
students that will
sound
struggle
out
with learning
words.
to read and
So it
advancing
helps
in their
students
literacy
struggle
development.
with an unfamiliar word for them
Reading
to be able
plays
to
a
sound
big
it
role
out.
in every different subject. So if a student is caught up
And it
on
just helps
how to pronounce
them
certain words
in reading in
or
general.
how to sound out these words so that they can recognize
Oftentimes,
them,
students that
they're
struggle
gonna
with
fall behind
phonics
in other areas
will
of their studies.
misspell,
And students
misread,
struggling
and
with
even
phonics
mispronounce
will
words.
often misspell, misread, and mispronounce.
Second impeding factor
My second
I
impeding
researched
factor
was
is
vocabulary development.
With my case study
Vocabulary
student,
development in my case study student.
I noticed
So
my
in general,
students struggle with
vocabulary knowledge
when I
helps
was conducting
students
an
relate
informal
words and
reading
concepts.
inventory.
And I
The
noticed
student
that
just
my
had to
student
read
struggled with
a
vocabulary
book,
when
or not
I
a book, but a
conducted
small
an
story
informal
to me,
reading inventory.
and I was able to
I
score
asked
how
my
she
student
read
clear
that.
concept questions that
to
should be able
begin
to activate
the
background knowledge,
informal reading
but
inventory,
I
asked
only
my
received
student
basic
clear concept
responses,
questions that should
or
be
none
able
at
to
all.
activate
And
background
it was
knowledge,
clear that the
and
student
she
was
gave me
having a
very
hard time
basic responses, if
relating
any at all,
a
and that made it
word
clear
from
to
the
me that the
text to a
student was having
concept
a
as a
hard time
whole.
relating a word to a concept as a whole.
Here's an
So here you can
example of
see
the informal
scoring
reading
for this
inventory, and you can see in the
informal
concept
reading
questions on
inventory,
the
and you
upper
can see
left-hand
on
side
the upper
that the
left-hand
answers are
corner
very
the concept
basic.
questions and how her answers were very sparse.
Vocabulary knowledge has a very big impact on literacy
Another
development.
quote that I really enjoyed
A
from the
quote that I
text
really
was,
enjoyed from the
"There's a
Multiple
reciprocal
Intelligences
relationship
book
between knowledge of word
was
meanings
there
and
is a
comprehension.
reciprocal
As one
relationship
grows, it
between
enhances
knowledge
the
of
other.
word
And
meanings
the
and
result is a cycle of
comprehension.
growth in
As
both
one
areas."
grows, it
So
enhances the
students
other,
with a small
and the
understanding of
result is a
vocabulary
cycle of
often
growth in
suffer
both
with reading
areas.
as a whole. They need to be able to comprehend. Just
Students
like
who
with
struggle
phonics, they need
with
to be able to
vocabulary
sound out the
development
words.
will
With
often
the
struggle with
vocabulary, they have to
reading as a
comprehend what
whole.
they're reading.
It's
In
important
order
that
to do
students are
that, they need to
exposed to
understand the
different
words that they're
vocabulary
reading.
words so that they can
And students need
understand
to
and
be exposed to
appreciate
vocabulary
words and have
consistently so that they can
word
develop an
awareness.
understanding and appreciation for word
Word
awareness.
learning strategies that
It's
children
important that students
develop
are able to
helpful
develop
and
word learning strategies
useful during all aspects of
because they
literacy
are
learning,
helpful
especially
and
reading
useful in
comprehension.
all aspects of
It's so
literacy
important
learning.
for children to be able to develop these word learning strategies so that they actually understand the words that they are reading. The
third
final impeding factor that I researched was oral language development.
Oral language acts as a gateway
oral
to other
language
forms of literacy
development and my case
So
study
how I
student.
noticed this
Basically, oral language is a
issue that my
gateway to
student
other
was
forms
struggling
of
with
literacy
was when I
development.
observed her
And
struggle
I have
to
observed
express herself
that
both academically
my
and socially to
case
her
study
peers. So
student
using
struggles
her
to
hands
express
a lot to
herself
illustrate
and
a point
communicate with her
instead of
peers
being
in
able to
academic
say
and social
to a
settings.
peer what was bothering her.
I also
Also,
collected
the results
results
I
during the
collected
informal
from my
reading
informal
inventory
reading
that I mentioned
inventory
earlier,
showed that my student was
and not only did those
unable
results show
to
me that
communicate
she had a
answers or
struggle
thoughts
with
fluidly. And you can
vocabulary,
really
but
see
also
how
an
oral
inability to
language and
communicate
vocabulary
answers or
really
thoughts
play a role
fluidly.
with each other. When I was
When
researching,
I found this graphic, and I thought it showed really
it
well
just
how
shows
oral
the
language
different
plays
aspects
such a
of
big
oral
role
language.
in different
Mainly oral
aspects of
language
literacy,
involves
such as
communication.
vocabulary and
So
concepts,
it's really
being
clear
able
that
to give and
students
follow
have an issue
directions,
communicating because
problem
if they
solving,
struggle with oral language, they
grammar,
aren't able to
explaining
explain themselves
yourself,
or orally
conducting a
recount
narrative,
or even give and follow
sequencing.
directions.
It's very important in literacy. Oral language has a major impact
So
on
how does
literacy
it impact
development
literacy
as it consists
It consists
of
of multiple aspects of literacy,
like I
phonics,
mentioned
grammar,
before.
vocabulary, and
Some of
structure.
these aspects include
It's the
phonics, grammar,
development
vocabulary, and structure.
is basically a foundation
It's also
for writing
the foundation
because
for
when
writing,
children
because
really
writing is a
discover
form
how
of
to communicate
communication,
effectively.
and primarily
And
or
children
first,
rely on their oral
children
language
learn
to
to
guide their
communicate
interaction
through
with
oral
many other
language,
aspects
and then they
of
are
literacy.
able to write
And
it.
students who express themselves less
So
or
it
don't
actually
participate in
guides
discussion
children's
often
interaction
fall
with other
behind their
aspects of
classmates in
literacy,
spelling, grammar,
and it
reading
also gives
comprehension.
children the
Cooperation
opportunities
is
to
so
express
important to
themselves.
engage learning,
And
a
students
student
who
who's not as
express
comfortable
themselves
with oral
less
language
or
will often
who
not
don't participate
cooperate
in
or
discussion
collaborate
often
because they
fall
tend
behind their
to avoid
classmates
discussion
because they're
with their
not learning
peers.
from these discussions and these self-expressions, because a lot of times students are able to evaluate themselves through these. So they often fall behind their classmates in spelling, grammar, reading, and comprehension. These are the stages of language acquisition.
Next, I'm going to talk about the different stages of language acquisition. So the first
The child in the
stage
primary
would
stage
be
of language
primary.
acquisition will use
primary stage of
possessive
language
words such as he,
are able
she,
to
and
use
we.
possessive words,
And
such
their
as he,
ability,
she,
they
and
have
we.
some ability
They can
to
sometimes
express ideas or feelings,
and can describe the use of some objects that they're really familiar with,
or
such
the
as a
use
fork
of
or a
some
car.
objects
They
that they
tend
may
to
be
understand that a
experienced
sister
with
is a
or
girl
familiar with,
or
such
brother
as
is a boy,
forks or
and they
cars.
enjoy rhymes because that's what
And they're able
exposed
to
quite a
understand
bit.
basically that
They
a
ask
sister
a
is a
lot
girl
of
or a
questions,
brother is a
especially
boy.
what, where
They often enjoy
but they don't have really any
rhymes,
sense of grammar.
and they ask a lot of
sometimes are able to
questions
use
such as
comparative
what, where,
adjectives.
who, and
Their
why.
word count is low.
They don't really
between
have any sense
1,500
of
and
grammar,
2,500 words.
and they can sometimes use comparative adjectives. And their word count tends to be between 1,500 and 2,500. In the
In the
intermediate stage of language
students use
acquisition,
comparative words,
children are able to
such as
use
better,
comparative
worse, or
words,
best, and
such
they
as
can
better,
usually
worse, or
understand
best.
past, present, and future
They
tense,
also
and
speak in
usually use
passive
passive
voice
voice.
and can use and
They can kind
understand
of tell
past,
developed
present, and
narratives or
future
stories
tense.
and speak compound and
They
complex
also can tell
sentences.
developed
So they're
narratives, but
beginning to
mainly just
expand the way that
stories.
they speak.
And they can
They tend to
speak
use pronouns
compound and
correctly in
complex
plural
sentences.
language, and they understand prefixes
So
and
they're not speaking
suffixes,
quite as
and their word count
basically.
is over
And
2,800
they also
words.
often are able to use pronouns correctly in plural language. And they are beginning to understand prefixes and suffixes, and their word count is often over 2,800 words.
In the middle
Language
and high school
acquisition in
stage,
middle and high
of
school,
language acquisition, students are
the
familiar
children
with
are often
academic
familiar
language,
with academic
and they
language
can
at this
actually
point,
debate concepts
and they can actually debate
positive and negative
concepts
viewpoints
and
on
present
certain
positive
concepts.
and negative
So with that debate,
viewpoints
they're
on
able
certain
to
concepts.
kind of articulate their
They
own
also
opinions.
use tone of
They
voice and
recognize tone of voice
inflection.
and inflection,
They're
and
developing
they're
their
able
own
to
tone in their
articulate and
writing.
pronounce
And they're
vocabulary
able to
words clearly.
articulate and
They're
pronounce
familiar with
vocabulary
abstract
words
vocabulary
clearly,
and concepts.
especially domain-specific vocabulary. And they're also familiar with abstract vocabulary and concepts. Here's a quote from Noam Chomsky about language acquisition.
Quote from
I think it
Noam
just
Chomsky that
proves
just
that
really shows
language
that language
acquisition
is a very important,
something that you cannot
essential
teach,
part of being
but is
a
something
human
that
being.
people are exposed to
You can't really
just from
teach
their
language,
environment.
but rather you should be exposed to it.
So how does language acquisition relate to literacy development?
It's essential
It
for both
is essential for both cognitive and social
How
development.
students construct knowledge,
And language
and how they're
acquisition
able
is
to form
actually
meaningful
how students
relationships.
construct
This kind of goes back
knowledge
to
and
oral
form
language and the ability
meaningful
to communicate.
relationships.
Children
Again,
need
this
language
goes back to
acquisition
oral
support
language,
from
which
an
I
early
spoke
age
about
to be able to
before.
advance their learning.
It really
so
is the
important
foundation
that
for all
exposed to it, that they're
literacy.
talked to a lot.
They
And
need
it
this
serves
language
as an
acquisition
indicator for
support
long-term academic
at an early
success.
age to be able to advance in their learning. Children that are exposed to lots of oral language and language often are ahead of other children as they enter into kindergarten. And it also serves as an indicator for long-term academic success. The stages of cognitive
Next
acquisition.
are the cognitive acquisition stages. So the first
Children
stage
in the
is
primary stage are able
in a primary
to
stage
identify
of
colors.
cognitive
They can count to
acquisition.
10.
A child
They
is
have a
normally
sense
able
of
to identify
time.
primary colors.
They
They can
often
usually
spend their
count to
time
10 and have a fair sense
in
of
fantasy
time.
play.
They can understand
and
the difference
they
between day and night activities, which
understand
helps them understand routines.
and the
They
difference
usually do
between day and
fantasy
night
play,
activities.
and they can draw somewhat
And they
recognizable
often
pictures, but they also
trace,
spend a lot of time
but
tracing.
they do draw somewhat recognizable pictures.
In the intermediate stage
of
normally able
cognitive
to count
acquisition,
up to
children are able to
100.
count to
They
100.
can recognize different shapes
They can recognize shapes and numbers,
and at the same
arrange
time they
things
can
in order
arrange
by
things in order by size, from smallest
They
to
can
largest,
understand
from
right
largest
from
to
wrong
smallest.
actions
They can
and likewise understand
commands,
commands.
and right and wrong
They also
actions,
often
and
follow
what are their
rules
rules
or
and how to
create their
follow
own
them.
plans to meet
They're able to
goals.
create their own plan to meet a goal, and
They
they
also
know their own address
tend to have their own
phone number. They
address
often
and
have
phone
that
number
memorized. They can understand
and
the idea
they
of a joke,
can
so
tell
they can kind of get a
time
little bit of tone
and
of
know the
voice.
general month
They can tell
holidays
time, and they
fallen,
know general
and they
months
are
that
beginning to
holidays fall.
understand the ideas of jokes and tone of voice. Children in the middle and high school levels
they can
of
obviously express
cognitive
their own opinions,
acquisition
goes back
are
to
obviously
language
able to
acquisition
express
when
their
they're
own
able to
opinions
debate.
and have many.
They can retain a higher
They can
level of
retain
content
a
and
higher
take
level of
ownership of their own
content and
studies,
take
so they don't
ownership
need
of
to be
their
reminded
studies.
of things.
And they also
They
understand
know
what
what
is
is
required of
required
them
of them to
or
be successful, and
what
they
they need to
honestly
put
have
into
their own
things in order to
beliefs.
be successful. And they often hold their own beliefs. So how does cognitive acquisition influence literacy development? Cognitive acquisition involves information processing, and information processing is an important part of learning to read. Attention is also a very key component of learning to read and developing fluency. And working memory is another important part of information processing and ultimately literacy development. But cognitive acquisition also involves being able to take ownership of studies and children developing a sense of their own strengths and where they need to spend more time in developing their literacy. These are the stages of reading acquisition. Primary stage of reading acquisition. Children are able to identify a few letters of the alphabet, and they are also beginning to learn how to print their own names.
They're familiar with those.
They can recognize words that they commonly find in their own environment, such as stop because of stop signs.
And they have some
they're beginning to have knowledge
so
about
they can kind of get
books.
print concepts.
So they can understand that there's a cover and a title on the book.
And they are
beginning to understand reading from left to right. They develop phonological reading skills and the ability to blend sounds towards the end of this stage. In the intermediate stage of
the average
reading
words per minute that
acquisition,
children read
the
would
average
be
words per
23
minute
to
that children are able to
127.
read
So they're
is
beginning to develop
23 to
automaticity when reading text they are
127,
familiar with. So they can
and the children
automatically
are
read
beginning
certain
to
words.
develop
They are developing
automaticity when
fluency and
reading
the ability
text
to decode words,
that
which
they are
goes
familiar
along with
with.
that.
So they
And they
automatically
begin
are
to
able to
read or
pronounce
learn or gain
words without sounding them
information.
out.
Instead
And they're
of just
developing
reading to sound out
fluency
the
and
words, they're
the
actually
ability to
reading through
decode
reading.
words.
So at the same time, they understand
And
the
they're
importance
beginning
of
to
word
read to
meaning and
learn
vocabulary.
or to gain information instead of just reading to sound out words. They're actually beginning to get something from what they're reading, and they understand the importance of word meaning and vocabulary. School of
middle and
reading
high school
acquisition,
stages,
the average words per minute that children are able to read is between 136 and 450.
which is a really
Children are
broad
able to
range.
read and
They
understand
can read and
material from
understand
multiple
material from multiple
viewpoints.
viewpoints.
So
You
they
can
can
give them two
develop
sources and
comparison
have them compare and
charts and
contrast those
pro-con
things, but they're
lists from
critical
different
thinking skills.
resources.
They're also beginning to
Developing
understand
critical
domain-specific
thinking
vocabulary
skills
and develop their own
and able to
viewpoints and
understand
opinions on the
domain-specific
readings.
vocabulary and academic language. And they are also developing their own opinions when reading. Impacts literacy
So how does reading
development
acquisition
because
influence
to be
literacy
fully
development?
literate, you
Well,
have
to
to
be
be
fully
able to
literate,
read
one
with
must be able to
accuracy.
read with accuracy.
And reading
comprehension
comprehension enables students to understand classroom content
in all
because the
different
majority of the
subjects.
content they encounter
Reading skills and tactics
involves
are
some
utilized
level of
in all
comprehension,
aspects of
whether it be a
education at
math
grade
board
level. Students are always
problem
going to have to
or
be able to read,
science
so reading acquisition is
question or even
extremely
reading during
important,
social
especially
studies.
when relating
Reading
it to
skills and
literacy
tactics are
development.
utilized
And
in
the
all
more
aspects of
students read, the more
education
literate
and
they
grade levels. And the more students read, the more literate they become. So it's really important that they're continually exposed and provided with opportunities to acquire greater reading skills. What have I learned from conducting this
from all of
research?
this research?
In order for children to become fully literate, they must have opportunities to acquire efficient cognitive reading and language development.
I learned that phonics is
essentially the foundation for vocabulary development, but
oral
oral language plays a
involves effective
ginormous role in literacy as it involves effective communication. And oral language is essentially when children are first exposed to the literacy.
These interventions will be based upon my research, so they're going to be informed and scientific.
Here's a brief reflection on my plans with my case study student. After researching 3 of the impeding factors that affect her, I found a better understanding of how these factors may affect her every day and how she learns. The research helped me choose which factor I want to focus on. It gave me ideas for how to begin effective interventions.
It gave me ideas for how to begin interventions. I'm going to do oral language and a little bit of vocabulary development, but mainly focus on oral language with my case study student because I find that communication is such an important piece in developing not only reading fluency, but also along with writing. So how does this relate to my
impacted my teaching philosophy and how I will advance in my future teaching? After conducting it, I understand that there is an importance in completely assessing my student to determine their learning levels, and then using those assessments
at the same time, I
to help
understand that after assessing
extra
and using
accommodations
those results, I should go and
or
research so that I know
give
how
the
best
student
to
extra
intervene
help.
and
But
provide
at the same
interventions for
time,
my
assessment
student.
should be followed up with
Oral language
research
and vocabulary
because without the
development affect
research, I
literacy
wouldn't
as a
know
whole.
how to
Important that
effectively
each one of my students feel comfortable in this area.
I understand how phonics, oral language, and vocabulary development affect literacy as a whole, and how it is important that each one of my students feels comfortable in these areas in order to feel successful in the class.